you could do the same thing, but say now if you injured 6 people, you would still only have 100,000 per person and 300,000 per accident. And then if somebody asks you like, oh, how does that work? You know, just say basically it's whoever gets there first.
Whoever contacts your insurance first.
I like it. Now here's what I'm also going to encourage you. Again, we're doing some training on auto for Tony. We're talking about liability. You did a good job unpacking some of that. Here's the other thing I want you to picture. Remember, you're picturing Miami. Asher's in the background screaming. Abby just got into the scissors. There's 1,000 things going on. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, I like examples to explain, but I'm going to keep it simple. Okay, so you almost over-explain, and we got to be careful of that because sometimes we've got all this knowledge and we want to go, oh, Chris Smoke calls it verbal vomit. Okay, I'm not saying you did that, but sometimes less is best. $100,000 if one person in the car, $300,000 multiple people in the car. You know, or I'll say if God forbid you had a bus full of kids. I wouldn't get into, well, if there's 5 people at the scene and there's 6 times 5 is 300,000, or if you've got 1 person at the scene and there's 3 people in the scene, I would avoid getting into more math unless you really need to do it. Okay?
So keep it simple and let
keep it simple. Bingo. Right? The big thing you want to explain with liability is this is your pot of money to protect you if you get into an accident and you hurt somebody and they try and sue you. As straightforward as it can be. And then I try and share the real world examples or stories or things that are going to stick with people and make sense. Everyone knows at a basic level, you see Morgan & Morgan and Ask Gary and Culpeper Kirkland, we're in a very litigious state. And statistically speaking, your greatest chances of a lawsuit are a car accident. Period. Okay? So that's why that pot of money is so important. Okay?
But I thought that we were a no-fault state.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a minute. Don't. But I also want you to do, we talked about the property damage. We talked about I hit a telephone pole, I hit a house, I hit all that. Again, the big thing they need to understand is that could be damage most likely to other cars. I run a red light, I T-bone somebody, they've got a Tesla, and it's $80,000 to total that car out. That's what that pot of money's for. Okay, now, so Amy was talking. So let's talk no-fault state. So, and I'm going to play Amy, my wife, my bride. So I'm Amy, and I hear we're in a no-fault state. So what exactly does that mean? Explain this part to me.
So in a no-fault state, as Florida is, you will go to your insurance policy for your medical bills first before going to anybody else's policy.
Okay. And I've got unlimited, so it could be $1 million?
No. We have a standard of $10,000, and there are some enhancements that you can make to increase that, but as a rule, it's $10,000.
Perfect. Again, I think less is best. I honestly, and I wouldn't even get into anybody, and I know you love auto, you maybe would do more, but I wouldn't even get into the the medical or the lost wages part, the life insurance part, all that. I would keep it simple, right? Bite-sized. You know, Asher's crying on Amy, it's lunchtime, they're trying to get from the park, all that. Okay, so I get it. So I've got a pot of money. My no fault means I got a pot of money. If I get into an accident, regardless of who's at fault, my first $10,000 in medical bills are paid. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, so what do you got? Yeah, feel free to jump in anytime.
In Florida, it's the first, I actually don't know the answer to the question. Is the first 10,000 subjected to the 80-20 rule?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. Again,
I don't know that you need to tell them that. I get that. I just wanted to make sure you knew.
I think that's a little bit.
If they think, oh, I have 10 grand, come to find out, well, wait a minute, no, I don't.
Listen, we can always be on the hook, okay, for lots of things. We want to do our best to follow our core values: integrity, excellence, and service. I think we do a disservice at times when we overcomplicate it. Again, if you're getting somebody who really wants to unpack, or you're trying to sell an auto insurance policy to a personal injury attorney and they're saying, hey, I really want extended PIP and blah, 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 blah. Okay, go there. The basic person needs to understand I've got up to $10,000. Yes, it's 80% up to $10,000, but if my medical bills are $15,000, it's still going to pay me a maximum of $10,000. They're just going to do 80% along the way. I get a bill for $1,000, they pay $800. I get another bill for $1,000, they pay $800, right? So.
And sometimes you will have to explain it because depending on the carrier, like I know Travelers, when you send out a proposal, it doesn't say 10,000 PIP, it says PIP 80-20.
Right.
People get confused.
There you go.
State Farm actually has it as like a subcategory. It says
right?
like personal injury, and then it goes out and says non-medical 2,500, medical 10,000, and then it says 80-20.
80% is medical, and the 20% is the.
Sorry. Well, it should be.
Just quick.
It should be 80-60, not 80-20.
Right.
It's 80-60. It's 80% medical bills and 60% lost wages.
Okay. Up to a
And
maximum
again-
of 10,000.
Yeah, and again, it's the who gets there first, because you could use your 80% up your 10,000, 80% for just medical, and nothing for lost wages.
Mike, why don't you stop at like every 7 minutes and then just start a new one so the files don't get super big? Okay. So good.
Here's the other thing. What is the fundamental rule that you should remember? I don't know how to lead you there without actually telling you. What have I told you about when you decide you're going to really go crazy about explaining coverage and not explaining coverage?
If it's worth it or not. If it's the $600 condo, don't put as much time into it as the $6,000 homeowner.
You're close, but not. It's the other one.
Don't go too far into the sausage.
Okay. Okay. So
Somebody's too analytical.
no. Here's the thing. It's a fundamental rule. I had Mike approve this. It's the way I've operated at all my agencies. On certain coverages, there's a point at which you know how much the agency could lose. On the 80/20 rule, it's $2,000. On the off chance somebody gets a bug up their
Right.
caboot and we get a lawsuit, we can pen a check for $2,000. Won't be happy
Right.
because somehow we were found omission. It's not a gaping hole. Okay, it's like food spoilers. If I don't explain food spoilers to the one guy who could have gotten it under his policy, I can pen a check for $250. It's gonna sting, but I can get over it. It's the $100,000 ones. It's those gaps that you absolutely have to make sure that we've done a good job explaining. So I think the $10,000 simplicity, $10,000 for medical payments, I'm sure that's what 99% of the industry standard says to their clients. It does not break it down. So let's go through this line by line. It would be a pain. So just remember that if they're the most that we would be responsible for in a 10,000 exactly claim would be $2,000.
Okay.
Not great, but we can do it.
Good. Okay. So tell me about uninsured motorists. So I see a line item. What does that mean? Explain that to me.
Uninsured motorists is a big thing here in Florida.